That's what it's all about. We get to come into the house of God and we get to experience His wonderful presence in this place. And I don't know about you, but I definitely felt the love of God. It was just all around me. That's what it's all about. But hey, today is Veterans Sunday here at Ascension Life. Come on, let's give it up for our veterans. And so what we do on this day every year, the Sunday after Veterans Day, we purposely choose to make this all about the veterans. And this is our Veterans Day Sunday service. And it's been great ever since we started here about 12 years ago with this new building that we purposed to do that. And it's been a hit. It's been awesome year after year after year. In fact, every year we get texts, we get emails. People come up and just say, thank you so much for doing this. Because a lot of churches don't do this, and I don't know why. Because we owe our veterans so much, don't we, church? One day a week's not enough. It needs to carry on through the week, and our churches need to take this particular Sunday and make it very, very special. And that's what we do here at Ascension Life. And so at this time, I want to go ahead and I want to get Brandy up here. Brandy Ritter, come on up here. Come on, let's make her feel loved. Brandy is over our Ascension Life Church Veterans Ministry. She's doing an amazing job. She really is. So I'm just going to let her take over at this moment.
Well, good morning, everybody. Isn't it amazing to be here worshiping together in freedom? I tell you, the song, He's the God Who Fights for Me. And that is just so true. You guys have heard my testimony. He's brought me through so many battles. But here I am, and I got the joy of the Lord in my heart. So today is going to be a little bit different. We wanted to kind of share with you what it's like in the day in the life of a veteran. So I have one quote. Miss Gina, she'll be here next service, but she gave this to me yesterday. It's from Eleanor Roosevelt that says, "True patriotism springs from a belief in the dignity of the individual, freedom and equality, not only for Americans, but for all people on the earth." And that's what we stand for. So for your veterans this morning, I'm going to ask Danny Fox to come on up. He served in the Navy. Yeah. And he's going to tell you what it was like being aboard the ship and his journey.
All right, good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. All right, so a little bit about me. I was in the Navy for 6 years. I want to start off with a verse. This is true to me because I believe and I know I'm a living testimony to this. So Proverbs 22:6 says, "Train a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it." So background, I grew up with my mom and my 4 sisters in South Jersey. It was really hard, so I had to get out of there, you know. But that being said, out of high school, I went to different recruiting offices, and I was like, Army, Marines, what do you got for me? And they said, well, for after, when I get out, I was like, I want some training, I want a job, I want to not do what I did when I grow up, you know. And they were like, we'll give you a gun, and in 4 years, you have your GI Bill. And I was like, I want some training. So I went to the Air Force, and they said, we can be an air traffic controller, but we don't think you'll be a good fit. So I went to the Navy. I was like, what do you have? He's like, well, if you get in this nuke program, you'll have a job when you get out. I was like, great. He's like, well, you have to take this test, and I did okay on it. Like, wait to take this other test. I was like, well, if I don't pass, I'm walking out that door. And I was like, did I pass? And he's putting it in the shredder, right? He's like, yeah, you passed, you're in. You know? I was like, goodbye, evidence. So God's good, man. He knows us. But ever since a kid in like elementary school, I was like, I want to be a nuclear physicist. And teachers were like, no, your grades are not great. But I made it into the program. It was a 6-year contract, 2 years of school, 4 years of service. So we went to boot camp, and boot camp was easy. And it was a lot of caring for like the drill sergeants. It wasn't what movies make it out to be. It was like if there's an overweight person, the drill sergeants would pull them out and make them do jumping jacks and push-ups like randomly throughout the day. And within weeks, it was like night and day transformation from that person. I mean, there's people that went in that didn't know how to read or write or English, and they would pull them out and give them special classes to get them up to par in order to make it through camp so they can actually get in and serve. It was a good experience. So after that, I went to my schools. I did 2 years. I did an A school, which is like how to be an electrician. Then at power school, learn how to nuclear fundamentals. And then prototype, where we actually had to stand watch. So that was in Charleston, South Carolina for the first 2 schools, and then upstate New York. And schools were hard, lots and lots of hours. Like, you were doing 70 hours a week. You really were. And then on the prototype, learning how to stand reactor operator, you were on 6 months of 12-hour shifts, like 6 on and 1 off, and just really getting qualified to understand when you got to your boat how to do your job. And I remember at 19 years old going home for like an enlisted or a person going home was kind of surreal. So I got off a watch one morning and I drove from upstate New York down to New Jersey, and I'm sitting there as a 19-year-old looking back and talking to my friends. It's like, man, 5 hours ago I was shutting down a nuclear reactor at 19. I was like, this is pretty awesome. Like, there's more to life, than just sitting at home and playing video games. But after the school, yeah, thank you. But going into this, one of the things I wanted to make sure, like going into the Navy, I was mad. Like, she talked this morning about how can a God love you and put you through so much. When I went into the Navy, I made a commitment I was like, I'm done, Lord. Like, I love you, Lord, but I'm done. Like, I was so mad about my upbringing, but anyway, so after school, I went into 4 years of service now. So I got stationed on the aircraft carrier, and we got in there. We had to do the same thing. You just got done learning how to qualify. You got to the ship. You had to qualify. And all it was time on shift and working and learning and studying and then drills all the time. And they take the time out of you. It's a very hard life with lots of hours, lots of training, and lots of studying. So my 4 years was 2 years of shipyard service and 1 deployment. So I got to go out to sea, and it's just like, if you can imagine a piece of metal, 90,000 tons, being out in the ocean with 2,000, 3,000 people on it. That's exactly what it was. It was smelly. It was a lot of people. It was a lot of long lines for food. It was a lot of training. But it was a lot of good times as well. I mean, we had a good times, and the crew was really what made it. It was a blessing. So one of those things, like we got to fix everything. One time, though, we had a ground. So I had to go in and remove a wire underneath the reactor plant control console. So here I am in electrical safety gear, all covered up with all the like leather gloves and face masks. I was breathing, so I couldn't see what I was doing. But I ended up removing a wire that I had ground on it. So I pulled the wire off, but when I let it go, it sprung back, and it touched the wire next to it. And all of a sudden, the reactor plant control console lit up like a Christmas tree. Like, whee, alarms are going off everywhere. And I'm like, did you do that? And I'm like, yeah, I did, And then, well, what they did was they scrammed the reactor. So they shut down the entire plant. And it's not a big deal for aircraft carrier because you have 2. So they cross-connected steam plants. The ship never knew what happened. And then they fixed it. It was like, oh, yeah, you let the wire go. It grounded at a meter. We started the plant back up. No big deal. The captain was like, great job fixing it, but never troubleshoot and repair during flight ops. Like, we're launching planes. We need to have steam. So it was hard on families. Like, I got to see my Master Chief divorce over email with a 20-minute delay. That was hard. One of my good friends, he went into the Navy. He just married a girl because they had a kid. He went out on deployment, and shortly into deployment, she sent him a letter saying one kid was from her first marriage, and one kid was theirs that they got married quick because they had a baby. She said, we just had a blood test. The second kid was the original husband's, so we're done. I'm going to go back with him. So he went in, out to sea, starting out with a father with 2 sons and a husband, and came back with just him. So that was sad. And so you can see these heartbreaks and things, and luckily I was single the whole time, so I didn't have to go through it, but I was there for my friends and family. Well, they were family when you're out to sea. I was there for them when they went out. But it was hard. It was a lot of long hours. Some of it was funny. One guy, he was dating a sailor, and she broke his heart. So he's sitting there crying in the office, just bawling, she broke my heart, crying. And our leading petty officer looks over, and there happens to be a thing of cookies right there. He's like, do you want a cookie? He's like, yeah, I want a cookie, And he's like, gives him a cookie, and he's sitting there sobbing, eating a cookie. Like, and you're just like, is this for real? Like, we were really out on a ship, and this guy's eating cookies, crying about his girlfriend. Like, yeah, this is happening. But I had nothing bad to say about the Navy. It was 6 years of hard work, lots of training, lots of good people. I mean, what it takes to make that all of those ships go out there and function the way they do and safely. Like, I was never in fear for my life. I got to go on 1 deployment, so I got to go to Dubai 4 times when we were in the Gulf doing circles. And on the way back, we had to Italy, Greece, Spain, and Turkey. So it was a short stint of my life, and it was absolutely worth it. But that's what I have. And going back, so I was after my 6 years, I was like, God had me the whole time. Like I knew when I was out doing things, like I felt God the entire time, like, because I was around people that love me, and you can't be around love and not feel God, no matter if you're in church or out church. Like you just know the goodness of God. And I wrapped it up. I met Carissa 8 months before I got out, and I was time I was like, oh, I'm going to start going back to church. And sure enough, when I met her, it was a condition. She's like, you're not staying in, are you? Because I'm walking, you know? And I was like, no, I'll get out in 8 months. She's like, okay, we can try to make this work. And we did, so God bless. But that was my Navy experience. Thank you all. Who's next? No.
That was great. So one other quick thing. So we have a gift for our veterans after service. So on your way out, see me by the door over there. And now I'm going to introduce. So what we thought about was bringing the younger generation through to the oldest generation. Kind of the difference in the, 30, 40 years a difference of service, something like that. Anyway, you guys know this Marine. He's near and dear to all of our hearts. Steve Page, come on up.
That was rotten. Oh, y'all look great this morning. Wow. Well, I have a special Marine that this is a Marine that really never enlisted, but from spit-shine shoes to hand-starched uniforms to junk on the bunk, my bride. If it wasn't for her, I'd still be living under a bridge. So, United States Marine Corps. The purpose of the United States Marine Corps is to take whatever civilian activities that you are aware of and completely eradicate them in a aggressive manner, purposed and aggressive manner. You see, when we get in there, they call us trainees under rigid discipline, TURD. Turds. So there's a lot of things that happen in boot, and so this is 1968. The Vietnam War is going on, and they're pressing people in. And for the first time, the United States Marine Corps actually drafted individuals. I volunteered. So you have the various platoons, and so occasion you have everybody in the company out on what's called a grinder. So you have a piece of asphalt that's 1 mile square, and you spend half your life out there marching back and forth and doing various drills and various other and sundry things. So one afternoon, all 4 platoons are out there, and you got about 50 plus men in each platoon, and they're all standing there at a rigid attention. And you got this line of men behind you, and there's another set over here, another set over, another set on the other side. And the drill instructor's all standing there, and these are crisp individuals. They got that hat tipped down across low on their brow. Their uniform is just, you could cut razors with it. And they all pull off to one side, and somebody else at ease. So the group just kind of stands there a little bit. And you can see them talking over here. And they get to giggling with one another, and they're kind of elbowing one another, and you know they're talking about somebody in this group out here. So one drill instructor stands up, and he looks at this group, and he goes, quietly but audibly, "Super turd." And all of a sudden, this one platoon snaps to immediate attention. They were at parade rest, and they come together just as tight as they possibly can, and they all yell in one big voice, "Sir, super turd, aye, aye, sir." And out of the back of this group comes this poor guy, and he's going dun 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 dun. He leaps up in the air and he stomps down in front of the drill instructor and says, "Sir, Super Turd reporting for duty, sir." There were a couple in the group that I think Gomer Pyle was patterned after, but so, all branches of service have specific things in common. We're a unique group of people. We are pressed together from all sources in all aspects of life. Believers, unbelievers, of all ethnic backgrounds. So as you're going through this, you begin to look and wonder around yourself, if I got into a problem, if I got into trouble, if I'm hit and I go down, who's going to come get me? Is there somebody that's going to cover my six? Is there somebody that's going to look after me? We all have those shared experiences, and the military is a culture of its own. And it's pretty hard to explain to those individuals that are outside of that. So you spend some time in service, you may be in combat, you may be in other activities, but then you try to explain some of these events that you've been through to someone that's outside of that. It's very difficult to do. The more intense the circumstance, the more intense the encounter, the harder it is to explain. The more difficult, the more traumatic, the more difficult to explain. So when you see some service member that's having a little bit of trouble, understand that this trouble goes back to a place of a shared event, that what he was around him, those people that he knew, he understand, he comprehended, was there to cover his six, to look after him, to make sure that if he went down, somebody was going to come get him. That's probably a struggle that he's going through. It's a shared event, and it's a shared culture. So there is one that we have today that sticks closer than a brother, and that's Jesus. That's who is covering our six.